In this tutorial, we're going to cover Introduction to MariaDB using the XAMPP shell. Let's get started. Okay, so we have here open our XAMPP Control Panel. I'm going to start the MySQL service. And then I'm going to open the shell. You are probably wondering why it is necessary to learn MySQL commands using the command line interface. Well, that's because on some servers, you only have the command line interface. You don't have any GUI to work with, in which case all the interaction you will have with that server will be using the command line interface. And sometimes you will need to see the list of databases, show the tables in a given database, before you can export a given database to your host system, for example. To open the MySQL or MariaDB shell, you type the following command: MySQL uflag will let us specify our username. In my case, is root. The p flag will allow us to specify our password. So now we are inside the MariaDB or MySQL shell. At any point in time, if you want to quit the shell, you can type quit or exit. Okay, let me open the shell again. If you type exit, these two commands will let us to quit the MySQL session. Once logged in, you can perform some very simple queries with MySQL. For example, you can display the version of the MySQL using the following commands. Okay, so this gives us the current version of MariaDB and also the current date. To terminate a query in MySQL, you need to specify the semicolon at the end of the query. It is also important to note that with MariaDB and MySQL, the case of the letters do not matter. For example, if I have some lowercase, some uppercase, it will still run. If everything is in lowercase, it still works. So it's case insensitive. Let's take the following query. So the query ran successfully. This implies that we can also use simple calculations in the MariaDB shell. You can also enter multiple statements on a single line, separated by semicolon. For example, okay, so here we have two different statements, and these first two are separated by the semicolon. Alright, this is the result of the first statement. This is the result of the second statement. MariaDB will also allow us to run a single query across multiple lines. For example, So this is our multiple line single query, and then we have to use the semicolon to terminate our query statement. This is the result of our query: the user and the current date. Let's assume you were writing a multiple line query and then you needed to cancel it midway. You can cancel the multi-line query by typing \C. To list all the databases in your relational database, you can use the show command. So, show databases. This lists all the database schemas in our relational database. You can see the number here, 5 rows. So we have 5 database schemas. To create our own database, we use the create database command. For example, create database WebDB. Okay, this creates our database, and we can confirm this by using the show database command. Show databases, and we see here our WebDB. Let's delete a database. To delete a database, we can use the drop database command. In this case, I want to delete a database called XAMPP. We see that the query was executed successfully. So when we type show databases, sample database is no longer in the list of databases. In order to create tables and perform other queries, we will need to select a database. To select a database, we use the use command. For example, use WebDB tells MariaDB that we want to use the WebDB to perform queries. And then we get the message, database changed. So now we can perform queries, and all these queries we perform will affect the WebDB database. Just like how we listed our databases, we can also list the tables in the database using the show command. Show tables. In this case, we see that we have the empty set. This is because we do not yet have a table in our WebDB. Let's create a simple table using the following command. Create table the name of our table is pet. The first property of pet is name with data type variable character of length 20. and then we specify the owner. So in our pet table, we also specifying the owner of variable character 20, species of variable character 20, a gender of character 1, the birth date and the date that the pet died. So we get this message, query OK, 0 rules affected. Alright, this means our query ran successfully. So now if we type the show tables command, we can now see that we have one table called pet. Let's say that we want to see the structure of the pet table. So we can see the table structure of pet using the describe command. Okay, so when we use the describe command, it will bring the structure of the table that we want to see. We have the field, the type, whether it accepts null values or not, whether it's a key or not, default, and so on. We have 6 fields in our table structure. Let's create another table. Now we've created a table called user that only has one field called name. Let's see how many tables we have in our WebDB database. We achieved this using the show tables command. So now we have 2 tables in our WebDB. To delete a table, we use the drop command. Let's delete the user table. Drop table user. Our query has run successfully. Let's confirm this using the show tables command. Okay, so we can see that there's only one table in our WebDB database. Okay, so this query has deleted the user table from our WebDB database. Okay, this concludes the first part of this tutorial. In the next tutorial, we will look at how to load data into our table and how to use the select commands to query data from our database table. Alright, See you in the next lesson.